everyone, welcome to School of Scarlett. I am so happy to have you here today. Today we're going to be talking about family. Now this is a very big topic because the majority of all my clients and people that I work with experience this, what I'm going to be talking about here today, this level of control and judgment from family. So I'm going to be sharing that with you, and I'm going to be sharing with you in all areas. For example, a lot of my videos in the past were a lot focused on non-duality, but my background is in psychology, and I also have a very observant kind of mind. I'm always observing people. So I'm going to be sharing with you my perspective regarding the psychological aspects of family, the humanistic aspects of family, and I'm going to be sharing the spiritual non-dual aspects of what this is. So they're very, very different aspects, but they shed light, and they're kind of things that we have to see. We have to, even though we may realize or understand conceptually what is happening in our reality, we understand non-duality. That does not mean that we totally understand the programming and the things that happen. So we can easily fall back into those traps of the ego or those triggers very easily because they're shadows still, they're still there. So these things don't ever totally leave. So it's very important to be aware of these things and have boundaries in place, and just in general understand the dynamics of what's happening within a family, especially a family with power and control, or the controlling and judgment aspect to it. So these are all going to be helpful for you, whether you are a man, a woman, whether you're even involved with your parents, even if you're just in a relationship with someone, whether it's a friendship or anything. This video will really help you to set some boundaries, especially with people that are so-called considered toxic. I don't like to use that word, but a lot of people identify with that. When I say toxic or someone says toxic, they immediately think of the people that they consider more toxic. Essentially, everyone here is just kind of doing their thing and under their own programming. So we're going to kind of get into that here today and shed some light around that. So one of the things that we kind of struggle with as humans is wanting to have validation. And this starts early on. This starts in our childhood from our parents. So we want validation from them. And so we try to do those things that will please our parents. And when we get those, positive praises from them, those verbal affirmations, it really makes us feel good. So we begin this kind of programming of now wanting to please our parents to have this good feeling. And so it creates the cycle of seeking validation from others. And it's not anything to be ashamed of or, any of that. It's very natural. These things just occur. But you see, these programmings can really lead you into, I would call, being stuck, being trapped in your life. And a lot of people are that way. They really only can move or expand to the level of their family. If their family doesn't believe something, they don't ever leave that thought or that, those ideas, even though they may have experienced something different or they may truly, genuinely feel something else. They won't leave that. Or, their parents have said they have to get married or do this stuff, and they do it. Maybe they don't feel innately that they want to do that stuff, but they do these things because they are so controlled by their family unit. They have an extreme amount of that validation going on, that seeking the validation. And for some cultures, that occurs a lot more because there's cultures that are more controlling just in general. It's not even the family. Sometimes it's the culture itself is contributing to that. So we're going to kind of be talking about all of these things because there's a lot of nuances in this. But at the end of the day, it is you. And I want you to stay till the end because this is going to empower you. This isn't all about explaining other people's behaviors or things or observing what is happening. It's truly about getting you back into your power and really putting up boundaries and barriers so that you can be free. See, when you are stuck in these family dynamics of power, control, judgment with family, seeking validation, you are not free. And you probably experience this in your body. So a lot of my clients talk about this. They literally don't feel free around family because there's still this sense of control there. They haven't broken free from that. And although they can see it conceptually and they can go and spend some time with family for a little bit and leave, it still stays with them. And it causes a sort of energy that's a really big downer, kind of like a bummer. even for the most enlightened of people. So I will be kind of speaking a little bit about my experiences, but not a whole lot. I personally have been through all of this. And so what I'm speaking of here are literally things that I have pieced together over my life of doing and being this person that is in the situation of judgment and control within family. And it's quite natural. So we'll just kind of go through it because I think this will be beneficial for everyone. So I've made a few notes here. So one of the things about it is it starts very early on that you're going to have this kind of discomfort happen. For example, like I say, it starts off early on when you're seeking the validation of your parents and you get praised for certain things. And then the next step happens. The next step is suddenly a lot of us, for most of you watching these videos, my videos, I would almost 100% say that y'all have probably been the black sheep of your families. Every single person I have worked with has been the black sheep of their family. And every poll I've put out about it has come out that way as well. So that's not to say that everybody's a black sheep in this world, but the kind of people that I attract with my energy have had similar experiences to myself. So this happens that the person is seen as different within their family. They're automatically seen as different. It can be as early on as birth. They're seen as more anxious, louder, they get crankier, they call them, they were more difficult children. They always say something about that child that's a black sheep. They always say they were always more sensitive, something about them, and it's not in a good light. So they're always singled out, usually from the very beginning. And then as they begin to get older, those aspects that are different begin to express themselves a little bit more. And so the family begins to point them out a little bit more. And in doing this, it's not clear to me whether or not the family is aware that they are hurting the child. Because every time that the child is told that they are different, why don't you be more like this? Why don't you try being more like that? Or how come you're not like this person? Or why do you act this way? Or why do you like these things? Why don't you like this? It hurts deep down inside. And so that hurts the child and it makes them it's kind of an abusive cycle, really. It makes them want to seek more validation, in ways that are inauthentic to itself. It starts to create masks. It starts to create identities that are more in line with what the parent wants, not with what the child wants. And so what the child ends up doing is creating an identity that's completely false. And this identity can continue on and on for years, if not a whole lifetime. And this person will have never broken out of this cycle of control and never have been themselves freely in this world. So it is very important, if you do find yourself in this cycle, that you break free from it now. This is one of the most controlling cycles that there is, and is one of the most limiting, meaning it keeps you down. It won't let you expand financially. It won't let you expand in your work too much. It'll only let you stay within a certain container. Usually the container would be wherever the highest, let's say the most successful person in your family went, that's probably the most that they would expect from you. And they won't see anything outside of that. So if you're dreaming big, a lot of black sheep children have big dreams. They have lots of ideas, lots of imagination. And what happens is they'll share these dreams with their family and their friends, but we're speaking about family, so they'll share these dreams and their family will laugh at them, will tell them that they're wrong, it's never going to happen, it's too big, it's not real, they're just dreaming, that's silly. They'll give every excuse as to why it's not going to happen. And as you get older and it becomes more realistic, these dreams, they'll start to pull out statistics. Oh, you can't do it because this statistic says this and that and the other. And so they will do everything that they can to keep you down. You may have the greatest opportunity on your hands and they will still find something negative to say about it. You will find, if you are in this dynamic, for every positive you say, there is a negative. So be aware of that in your dynamics and your interactions. If you're finding that the people you're talking to, as soon as you give a positive, they give a negative, then you're in this dynamic. In general, most people, that are not dealing with their family, when you're talking to just friends or, acquaintances and people that even people you've known a long time, they don't do this. They listen and they encourage you. So there's very different energies happening between the family and everyone else in the world, which is why a lot of times people that are in these situations seek avoidance, meaning they literally will avoid their family at all costs. They won't visit them. They'll try not to talk to them. And in some cases, they'll just move away or disown them and things like that because it is just not beneficial. It doesn't feel good. It's kind of like you're tied to something that you don't want to be tied to. But essentially, you know their family, you know there's love, you know these things, but the pain of it all and the consequences of spending time with these people is really draining, meaning it could literally drain your energy. While, you know, on your normal days, you've got energy, you're, you know, having fun, you're doing your work, you're, you know, loving your family, your marriage, everything. On the days that you're interacting with some of these negative family members, you're going to notice a change. So just be aware of it. This is for you to be aware of, not for me to tell you. So be aware of it for yourself. Your energy will shift. Your energy will shift into basically like a lower feeling. And you're probably not going to accomplish as much. You're probably going to be in a loop about thinking about family for about sometime after the interaction and even sometimes before and during. So this thing can really take up a lot of your time. And so it is really important to address this. And if you are going to interact with people, have very strong boundaries with these people. Now, everyone is really truly a mirror to you. So they're actually mirroring something to you that you need to know about yourself. So for example, if you're having these experiences of someone talking negatively for every positive and doing all of these things, that's showing you something, that somewhere you're accepting that, whether you're accepting it within your own mind, accepting thought streams, or you're accepting it from those family members, but you're accepting it. And so you have to do something now. That's just a warning. That's just a sign to you that you need to do something. You need to do something within your own mind. If it is that you're accepting negative thought streams that are happening in your own mind, seek therapy, seek help, and you can clear that. If it is that the people around you are not healthy because they themselves have not done their work, they themselves have mental illness, they themselves have negative mindsets, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do about that other than to be present with them and to set clear and concise and very strict boundaries with these people. In doing so, the hope or the what usually ends up happening is that the other party, the family, ends up having to reflect on their own issues, but a lot of times they don't. So don't hold out hope that these people will ever change. Most likely they will not. So the programming is very, very deep. For example, if we're talking about parents, you know, they've already lived on this earth for 30, 40 years doing this kind of programming, if not more, you know, depending on their age. And they've lived in this negative mindset, this pessimistic view of life for this long. Now, of course, the whole world tells you not to live this way, to choose love, to, you know, every religion speaks of this. But yet most people do not do this. So you probably will not see a change. The only thing you can do is be present. Be your own presence when you're around these people. So if you are going to interact with them, if you are around them, one of the things that they try to do, a lot of times this is a very huge programming thing that happens. It's baiting. So like I say, I'm talking a little bit psychology, a little bit humanistic, and a little bit spiritual. So stick with me. This is a line. Baiting is a psychological move that some parents do. So for example, it's like a guilt trip. If, for example, my parents had asked me to dinner and I didn't want to go to dinner. I had other plans with friends, or maybe I had an evening plan to work on my business or do something else. But that was just not my plan and they sprung it on me, you know? And so when they call, you want to come up with like an excuse or something of why you can't do it. And then they will want to bait you more. Well, why not? Why can't you do this? So they'll want you to explain yourself. They'll want you to go into these stories of why you can't do it. So when you go into explaining that you have something planned with a friend, and yes, you have a little bit of time, but then afterwards you were planning to work on your business, they won't see it that way. They will all of a sudden start baiting you more. Oh, well, which friend are you going with? Oh, why are you going with them? You went with them last week. You haven't seen us. Or they'll go into other stories of, oh, you're going to work on your business. Well, why can't you do that tomorrow? This is when we're doing our dinner. Why can't you do your things tomorrow? So they will bait you into stories, into all kinds of things that will drain your energy. And at the end of the day, you may be pulled into going with them and you didn't even want that. So you have to stick with your yes. You have to stick with your no. So from now on, your yeses are your yeses and your nos are your nos. These people will do everything they can to sway you from whatever it is that you believe, think, and want to do. And it's not even really because they want to spend time with you. It's this programming of control. Because you find when you go spend time with them, they don't even spend time with you. They go off and do their own things, or they don't talk to you, or whatever. Or they criticize you, they treat you badly, they fight with you. So they don't want that. What's happening here is a programming that is very, very unfortunate. I want to say toxic, but I don't like using that word. I say unfortunate because it doesn't have to be this way. If we seek or we align with love, there cannot be judgment. There cannot be fear. There cannot be manipulation. It just does not exist. So you have to kind of check yourself, or if you are that parent, if you're recognizing, hey, I do that to my child, be aware of that for yourself. What are you doing? Are you living in fear or are you living in love? If you're living in fear, most likely you're hurting the people around you because of the things that you're doing and saying. They're draining people. They're making people not be able to express themselves fully because the energy is being drained by a false distortion of fear. So we have to align with love in all areas, whether you're that parent or you're the child or whoever you are. Love is the way. So it doesn't have to be this way. That's why I say it's really an unfortunate situation, because if both parties chose love, there would only be love and it would be a very pleasant experience. But unfortunately, for most families, that does not occur. And as a counselor of having worked with families for many years, that's my main specialty. I started working with families very early on, and especially with like behavior problems that always seem to have, the behavior problems that happen, they always stem from the parents. So I learned this working in parenting. I worked with families for, I don't know, many, many years. And working with families, it was never the child. Never. So when the child's acting out, yelling, screaming, hitting, being mean, doing all these things, guess who it was what needed to be fixed? The parents. Never the child. So that's to shed light. And so parents will also do something to you. These kind of parents will do something to you. This is a psychological point of it. They will do their baiting. And in the baiting, you might get upset. You might get wound up and you might start to get angry. And you might start to yell or just get, a stronger tone in your voice, or you might say something that you didn't mean or whatever. And these kind of parents will turn it around and say, you see, you're out of control. You see, you're the one that's wrong. You see, there's something wrong with you. You need help. You need this. You need that. So they'll turn it around on you. And that will only really drain your energy more. Everything that I'm talking about will just spiral more. But you see, if we really look at the evidence, very interesting here. In childhood, and anytime I've ever worked with parents, even when they're teenagers, it's always the parents that are causing a dynamic that's causing the child to yell, scream, act out, run away, be promiscuous, whatever it happens to be. It originates from the source, the parents. And it's kind of like a symbiotic thing, they're all together. So to change any kind of behavior problem, if I really wanted to change, let's say my parents were saying, oh, you need help. The help would not just be for that one person. It would not be for the child. The help is actually needed for the whole, okay? Because everybody needs healing in that. But usually these kind of parents will never accept that. They will believe it's the child, and they will deny that they have a problem, although it is extremely clear to everyone outside or around them. But this is what happens. So that's the psychological trap of what happens within this. Now we're going to move into a little bit more of the spiritual side of this. I mentioned a little bit about everybody actually kind of being like our mirror, showing something to us that we are not aware of about ourselves, or denying some sort of greatness. When we're doing that, that is happening. It is part of this. That's why it's important to work on these things and not totally avoid them, but learn how to not control them, but how to be with them. So there are two ways of dealing with this. A lot of people, like I say, just avoid it. They move away, they whatever. The other way is to set clear boundaries. And that would be the humanistic way of doing it. So we're not yet to the spiritual, but the humanistic way, I don't want to skip, spots here. But before that, you want to set some boundaries with the family. Let them know clearly what is going on. If they were to call you and ask you to go out and do something you clearly don't want to, be honest with them. Tell them, I'm sorry, I didn't plan on doing that, and I don't really want to do that tonight. So my answer is no. The next thing they will do is they'll ask you, but why? Why don't you want to go? What are you doing? And so they'll try to bait you. The answer is no. You have to stop there, because you see, you don't see this, but I'm telling you, if you go into baiting, if you go into anything further than that, you've lost everything. Like, the conversation's over. These people have no way of, they have no control. They're not healthy. They can't ever turn it around. So you're going to be left feeling like crap. So don't go down that rabbit hole. If the answer is no, the answer is no. They're going to try to bait you. What else? What are you doing? Why can't you? Please, come on. The answer is no. I can't do that today. I'm sorry. That's it. You don't owe anything to anyone. So your answer is no. It is no. They have to respect that. Okay? So that is the humanistic way of dealing with it, setting very clear boundaries with people. And for example, if they are crossing your boundaries in other areas, for example, meddling in like your parenting, or meddling in your marriage, or, giving unsolicited advice about your business, or just getting involved in things that literally you don't need help or advice about. These kind of parents do this. And what people don't understand, or people that are in these situations, is this is not normal. We think that all parents are like this, and they're not. This is an unhealthy pattern that happens. It's not something that happens in every family. So when you get with someone, let's say you get married to someone, or you're friends with someone, and they begin to see these patterns, they begin to point it out. They say, do you notice how your parents, and so you begin to see it, because it's not normal, it's not natural. And what you'll begin to see with the relationships they have with their parents is they don't have that dynamic. So it's a very unhealthy programming that's happening within that home. Okay, so we're going to move on to a little bit of the spiritual side of it. The spiritual side of it would be, essentially, there is nothing, okay? And all that is happening is you. And all that's happening is that you are coming back into yourself. You're coming back into presence, awareness, or consciousness, total consciousness, meaning you're not going to be in your mind. You're not going to be heavy-minded, always thinking on your mind. You're going to be more in your heart. So you're going to function a little bit more naturally, a little bit more softly. And because of this, you don't want to get sucked into these things with the family, of getting into these heavy-minded things. See, these family members, they're totally in their minds. So if you spend too much time with them, if you're doing all these things, you're going to get sucked into that. So the best way to counteract someone that is very heavy-minded, meaning they're always pessimistic, they're always thinking, no, like it can't happen, because they've thought it through in all these negative ways, you're going to want to sit with presence, meaning you stay embodied in who you are. So if you know love, if you are open to love, if you know presence, if you know silence, then sit in silence with them, and don't play into their games. Don't give too much energy into it. That is another way to set an energetic boundary. And when they see that, they can either tune into that and calm down themselves, or a lot of times when people are not well mentally, or they're struggling a lot with mental illness, but negativity, they will get triggered almost like in a mean way, like in an angry way. They'll see that you're calm, or that you're not bothered by something, and they'll ramp it up and get angry. And there's a lot of times in the past, I remember like in Christianity, people would say that was the devil coming out. Like when you're trying to do the right thing and other people are tearing it down, that's the devil. Well, I don't see it that way, because I see everything's just happening, and there's not separate anything, there's not separate entities. But the energy certainly shifts, does it not? It shifts within the body, within the self, within our experience. So we have to protect our energy. We have to protect our boundaries. That's part of self-care. That's part of loving ourselves and being our true, authentic selves. Because you see, our true, authentic self is not limited. It doesn't have thoughts of judgment. It doesn't have thoughts of limitations or pessimism, or it doesn't try to bring people down or keep them controlled or judged. It doesn't do those things. It doesn't try to break up marriages. It loves, it wants to expand, build, and bring up. But you see, people like this kind of family unit, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be the most sweetest, perfect person. You can work, pay all your bills, never ask them for anything. You could build a whole empire, be a millionaire, have tons of expensive cars, have, the best children with all A's, and they're all doing well in sports, and the best marriage, and they'll still say something's wrong with you. And they'll still say something wrong about every area of your life. You just can't get away from that. So you have to set those boundaries. You have to make your yeses yeses and your nos nos. These people have no place in your life. Your life is your life and it's no one else's. So take responsibility for that now, whatever you have to do. If you're able to break free from your family, that is going to be the greatest blessing you can make. And I'm not talking about just leaving them behind. You can always, be with them in presence and try to be with them. But you have to set these boundaries if they are not healthy. If they're healthy, well, of course, you want to spend time with them, be with them. When they're unhealthy, you have to come in with your boundaries, or these people will literally drain hours of your day that you could be using to further the work that is happening within you. See, this is not just petty little things. Our heart wants to do things here. Our heart wants to expand. It has things it wants to do. And playing into all of these distortions and really believing it and getting sucked into it is not going to help you to really fulfill your heart's desire in this world. So I'm empowering you today to really step into who you are and set boundaries with people. That way that you can be who you are. I hope that this message has shed some light on this topic for you. If you like this video, please share it with others. Comment down below. Tell me what kind of topics you'd like to hear. If you'd like to hear more around family, comment down below. Every time you comment or share or like, it helps the algorithm to bring more people to the channel. And I would love to have as many people as I can here at this channel to spread love. Thank you so much. I love you all infinitely, and gratitude for each and every one of you.